How do we become who we are designed to be? How can we be held? How can we be healed? Emma works individually and in groups with women, helping them and people in general, helping them to come to healing, but also how to access their intuition. This is a really fun conversation. I'm so glad you're here. Oh my goodness, Emma Andrews. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Ladies, can I just tell you, I found the lovely Miss Emma by listening to the Reluctant Medium podcast. She was a guest on Dr. Marie Rothenberger, who I've interviewed before, had her on her show. And I just fell in love with this gentle spirit of a woman who shared her heart so openly. And she talked about how she helps women, people, connect with their intuition, that this is a part of who we are designed as. And I just wanted to know more about this girl. So we're here today to just talk about whatever we want and to help share that this isn't something that only special people have, that this is part of our unique design on this earth. And yeah, Emma, welcome for one. And how did have you all so you are how would you describe yourself?
Thank you for having me, Kelly. I love that introduction. And before I describe myself, I just want to say I love that you said this isn't just for special people. Actually, like everyone is special. And like coming to your intuition is like building that awareness that I'm precious. I'm worthy. I'm a part of this greater love. I'm already gonna cry. I describe myself as an intuitive and medium. And also, I do somatic therapy as a part of my practice as well. That's kind of grown out of the intuitive work that I've done. Yeah.
So I know somatic, that's a very hot term, and I think still a lot of people aren't sure exactly what that means. Can you describe that a little more?
Yes, of course. So this actually, I started actually coming to it through my intuitive sessions because I'd be in my intuitive sessions. I'm very clairvoyant, so I will see people's energy, and I'll see information floating around in their energy in their auric fields. And during those sessions, I kept being prompted to guide my clients to connecting with their bodies. And the I would get these like funny like tools for them that would just come out of nowhere, like you need to yawn a bunch, or you need to just lay on the floor and scream, or lay on the floor and stretch out a bit long, these very specific strange exercises that would just come through as helpful. And I started to really see results, and people started to come to me and say, wow, like that thing you had me do, like I feel so different doing that every day. And I was like, I don't know the science behind that. And then I started to learn, oh, some of these things that were coming through are actually, being researched and being studied as supportive tools for our nervous system, regulating our nervous system, changing our minds, changing our state of awareness. So I just started learning about that and became fascinated with it. And I really loved guiding people to be in their bodies, because from the beginning my work has always been it's always been really important for me, not just to share information with people, but to help them access it within themselves. And so this was a really amazing way that not only could, we work on some of these issues that might be coming up in a client's life through regulating their nervous system or learning to be present in their body, but it also opens them up to their own intuition and to accessing that information for themselves going forward. So in my somatic therapy sessions, what that really means is there's going to be a focus on being with the body. And the majority of the time, it doesn't have to be my touch, but the majority of the time, that is on offer, and that is there. And so we use touch and we use presence, like physical presence, to explore the inner world and to explore and process and be with emotions and learn to regulate the nervous system, to be regulated, to co-regulate. And it's really, really beautiful work. I really enjoy it.
So is that mainly then with your in-person clients, or can you do that virtually as well?
You can do both. I only really will do it virtually if there's like a need for that. I have done that in the past, but I prefer it in person. Yeah, you can do it virtual, absolutely, because you can use your own hands on yourself, right? And the presence of me over the phone or on Zoom. So it can work either way. But being in person is really nice because I feel like I can really the phrase I like to use is like be with you being with your body.
Mm.
And there's something magic that happens when we are witnessed and seen from a place of like unconditional love. Things can move and change a lot quicker for us than if we're trying to do it on our own or just trying to heal, with talk therapy, which can also be amazing and important as well. But having that touch piece has been very profound for me personally and for my clients.
I totally agree with that. I think so much. I know for me, something I've really been hyper focused on is being my awareness to have how much energy that I realize that I'm frozen and
Mm,
that I live a lot of life from a state of frozenness. And it's that fight or flight thing. Like, I'm safe if I hold still. Nobody see
mhm,
me. And just like bracing yourself for impact and like all these things of where we're just holding all this stress. And then it doesn't help that I'm also living in my head and I'm not connected in my body. And so when I'm able to say, okay, how can I loosen up? My word for this year, for 2026, is playful, and it scares the crap out of me because that means that you're not so worked up. You're not anxious. I'm not constantly like, well, I got a contingency plans for everything. And I mean, it's hard being a mama of six and you got life going on. But what if I was able to relax and play and approach life from a playful? So yeah, getting in my body. And that was one of the things I loved. Emma hosts a free women's circle each month where you're able to come on together. She kind of warms you up, leads you into kind of an opening exercise, and then you go off on your own. And you do some, she has like an exercise for you to do, and you just work on getting in touch with your intuition. And then we meet after 30 or 40 minutes, we'll come back together, share kind of our experience, thoughts. And in that time, so the first time that I joined her circle, I I'd been trying to do this work on my own, but here I was in the presence of where two or more are gathered, and I felt such a shift in the energy. There was so much different, so much opened up for me as well because I was being witnessed by Emma. And like she's a special gal. And again, I love that what she's saying is this isn't just, it's not just for the select few. And my gosh, she's a bad therapist in the sense that she's trying to help the people she works with, be able to help themselves. As opposed to, no, 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 thou must come to the holy upon holies and receive your healing, and then now you go off, okay, make your appointment for next time. It is about how can we learn to access more so that we can help ourselves more. And I so appreciate that because it shouldn't be like, it's a part of being human, and how we're so trained from a very early age to forget that we have that connection, that that's part of who we are. And no, 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 everything is up here. Everything's got to live up here. There's nothing. Nothing below the shoulders that is necessary. You are all just like little it's just little parts. Okay, well, you got a heart problem, or we gotta tweak the heart, or give you meds, or get the scalpel out. And no, 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 we're a whole system and it all works together. So I love that. Hopefully I didn't go too far off track, but yeah, I love being able to how you help people access that. And again, where two or more are gathered, that energy. So it is really, really helpful. There is so much you can do on your own, but my goodness, once we do allow ourselves to be witnessed and in that love, you hit us on such a huge point that I think it is that pure energy of unconditional love. That's where all the healing takes place. So, how have you been developing this gift of yours, or how did you know how to do this?
Well, I've had amazing teachers, Kelly. I have amazing teachers that I work with still all the time. And I'm like just learning. I probably will never stop learning. And I'm so excited when I wake up in the morning, like to go play. I loved your word, the playfulness, to go play. And in this realm, like the intuitive realm, but also like the realm of like working with presence. Um, you do have to learn to let go of control. And I'm someone who is similar to you, Kelly. Like I do freeze up. I have a history of freezing up and wanting to control internally and externally, things that are happening to 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 manage, basically, to manage things. And as women, we're really taught that's your job to be a manager, to manage the house, to manage, the children, to manage the life. But then bringing in this idea of playfulness, it unlocks so much. But the thing that I had to learn that was important for me is that like I need help accessing that playfulness, right? I can't do it on my own. And from like a nervous system point of view, like if we're talking about like systems that were programmed, like pre-verbal systems that were programmed within us, um, we're going to need accompaniment. We're going to need support. We're going to need community in order to change those patterns. Because if we're looking back into that time, um, it's not a safe thing to be alone and be a 2-year old alone. Uh, and so, in order to change a lot of that patterning, we need that connection and community, and that's where things can really unlock and shift, um, and where really profound healing can happen.
Do you have any stories you can share regarding that?
Let me think. I'm thinking about, well, yeah, well, I have a client that I've been working with for a long time, and she is amazing. She's really a wonderful person, and she has had a lot of struggles in her life. And when we're working on the table, the challenge that might come up might be about it being controlling. We're talking about that, and that's something that she's experienced, like being controlling in her life, feeling like she needs to manage her own emotions. There's like not a sense of like flowing with them, flowing through them. There's like a holding or like I shouldn't, and like the brain comes on, I shouldn't be feeling these things. There's like this manager part that is always present on the table. And so when we're working together, we're we're traveling back to when she was young and when there was a little girl that didn't have parents that were regulated, that were safe for her. And so she learned this amazing pattern, like she learned to survive. And so we're present with that. We're holding both. And I love how you said, like, that wholeness piece. You were talking about the body, how all the parts of the body, the physical body, the energy body too are all connected, all one. But also we have like all the ages we've ever been, like all the people we've ever been, all our parts, all of our emotions, like the full range of that. And so we're holding that in wholeness. And so what happens when that little girl is invited to the table and she is met with being held and being loved? Um, yeah, and then think that's where things can move. And so this issue that we were talking about in our one of our most recent sessions together about like not feeling like she can feel her emotions, it it unlocks, and like the puzzle pieces almost slide together, and there's this experience of feeling like she can be herself and feeling whole. Yeah.
I had a picture in my head a couple days ago about it's for me, it's like a kink in a garden hose
Mm,
where it's you have to go, you can't just like, well, just turn the water on more. You're like, well, how about we go and find where that kink is and
mhm,
let's work on the kink. And then if you're like me, I got a lot of kinks. And so it's one by one as you work on those things, then you can open up and you can really experience your full flow of who you were really designed and meant to be. And I think that's the whole part of seeking a healing, being on a healing journey and seeking assistance and working on ourselves. So like, so that we are working out the kinks so that we can experience that flow because we feel that pressure, we feel all that buildup and like there's a lot in there and it's not going where it's supposed to go.
mhm.
So woo. So okay, so that you seeking out teachers and things, did you, how that happen? How'd you find your first one? And what did you just like say? How did you get okay with being this special? Like, because I am imagining that it was kind of strange for other people, or like what you're experiencing, and you're trying to share it with someone. They're like, I don't know about you, Emma. You're kind of
Yeah.
wacky.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there are people that still think that in my world, and I'm so okay with it. I'm so fine with it. And that's just been the journey of accepting and loving myself, and like knowing myself. And this amazing thing happens as you like grow in self love, where like you just become your own best friend. And so there isn't as much of like a need for approval or validation from others. That's still there, of course, but I really like to like when I notice that's there, that's coming up, or I'm wanting people to understand or get me, I'll just come back to myself and say, "Oh, what's happening here? Oh, isn't this interesting? There's this little girl, right?" And it all comes back to when we were small. It really does. Like there's this little girl that feels like, you know, people aren't going to like her or at school or whatever story it's coming from. And then what can I say to her? She's my priority, that little one. Not and I'm not going to validate this pattern by following it anymore because I can see it for what it is. I have this bigger perspective. And I love that you were sharing about like the freeze, because when we can notice that, when we can notice our response and our different like patterns of um, nervous system activation, we can then take a step back and not identify with it as much and say, oh, wow, okay, look, my shoulders are tight. What's happening here? Like my mind is racing, but this isn't me, right? There's a physiological experience happening connected to my stress levels. And this is something that I can understand and I can love and I can appreciate. And then how much easier is it uh, to find another way when we can step back and see that we have choice. And if we approach it from a place of love, there's softening that can happen. Um, I think I veered off from your question.
Oh, it's okay. It's all good. It's all part of it.
Yeah,
Um,
so when I first found I found my first teacher because I was really sick, starting at the age of like 18 when I right right when I went to college. I got sick, and I was sick all through college with like really challenging chronic pain and fatigue, and like I became allergic to all food. And so I had a really interesting like college experience. I wouldn't, I stopped drinking. I didn't drink from freshman year, and I started just cooking really amazing food for myself every meal. I had to like, and I was just at the doctor all the time. And uh, I had some moments of really being in a lot of pain. So once I graduated college, which was something I didn't really think I would be able to do, but I did, um, I knew I needed to get some support that I wasn't able to get before. And the only thing that had really helped my symptoms when I was in college was acupuncture. That's what was the only time that I would go feeling not good and leave feeling a little better. And so uh-huh.
can I ask what kind of modalities were you doing? Were you doing just like traditional Western medicine, and then this was the only Eastern medicine that you did? Acupuncture was the only like non-traditional thing?
I think it was, yeah. I think at that point it was mostly Western medicine stuff. I had changed my diet pretty drastically. Um, and I had tried like some other things. I think I had like a vitamin D lamp. I was like trying a lot of things because I was in Scotland for school, and there wasn't a
Okay,
lot
wait,
of
wait, wait, wait. Where in Scotland were you?
St. Andrews. I was
Oh,
at University of St. Andrews.
oh my gosh. Well,
Mhm.
girl, like, well, you didn't have any. Now I know that your brother is now studying in Ireland. Did you have any family? Were you all by yourself in
I
Scotland?
was all by myself. Yeah.
Okay, well,
I was all by myself. One of my brothers joined me in like my last year or two, but yeah, I was on my own.
okay, so we're just going to pause here and talk about that for a little bit. So, what got you to St. Andrews? Like of all the universities in the US, why'd you want to go there?
Well, it's just the best one. It's the best place in the world.
Scotland?
Yeah.
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 Well,
And St. Andrews, well, I knew from a very young age. I was born in London to American parents, and I grew up in Kansas City. And so growing up, I always had like a feeling of like, I want to go back. I want to go back. I want to be back in the UK. And I remember I went my freshman year to the college counselor, and I said, I want to go to school in London. I had printed out all these different schools. And she said, come back in 3 years. It's not time yet. So I was really excited about it for a long time. And then, yeah, I ended up choosing, I liked St. Andrews because it was 4 years. The schools in England are three. And it was 4 years and by the ocean and just in this really cute little town. And um, yeah, I was really happy there. I loved it there.
that's so interesting that is a time where you had all these health issues come up, like begin, and yet it was a place that you felt so called to. I wonder if it was almost like your body was detoxing from like, okay, now I am where I'm karmically supposed to be.
Mhm.
Like, what is all this stuff going on?
I think there's probably something there. I mean, I felt so, but the minute I arrived in the UK, the minute I arrived in Scotland, I felt like I was home, and I felt so safe, and I felt so comfortable and like and free. I felt really free. So I think that there probably is something there where my system was like, and then, like when you're stressed and then you're done with whatever, work you have to do, and then you get sick. Maybe something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I totally believe that that's when we get into that place of like of safety, then our body goes, all right, now it's time to repair. Now it's time to heal. It's time to do all that stuff. So
Yeah.
gosh, that would totally make sense. So
Yeah.
what did you study in Scotland?
I studied social anthropology and comparative literature. Yeah.
How did you choose those things?
Well, I just really like learning about different ways of thinking and different perspectives. And I love traveling. I love learning about different cultures. And so that's what we talked about in the social anthropology course. It's all about different ways of thinking and different ways of living, different perspectives on life. And the comparative literature was the same. We worked with texts from all different countries, different languages, and I had professors from all the different like language schools. Um, and so, yeah, learning about how, different places talk about death and
I knew
how
you'd say that. Yes.
that's really one of my favorite topics, as strange as that seems. And that's what I did. I did my dissertation on trauma, memory and trauma, and in different literature. I did actually. It was uh, yeah, it was autobiography and basically about reclaiming memory in African American and Native American literature. So
Oh,
when
so
there,
deep.
yeah, when there is, you know, memory history that's taken, you know, and people are subjected to that violence, how do they, how have they reclaimed memory, reclaimed their sense of community and identity and lineage? Yeah.
Whoa. So like you went from, and that was before you were like, I remember from listening to your interview where you talked a bit about like having experiences, and I think you have a beautiful story about your grandfather, or was
My father.
your father. Oh,
Mhm,
yes. Oh my gosh.
mhm,
And so you already were walking your path to like, this is just part of, this is me, and this is what I love, and this is what I'm drawn to, and this is me coming into myself. And so from those studies and from like drawing into your interests and where your heart has always been, when did you allow yourself to claim this fuller version of who you are? That was kind of, that was one of the things I have to say from your interview with on the other podcast, was how you're claiming of your identity and saying, just like you said earlier today, how it's okay that not everybody gets me. It's okay that I'm me. And I love that you said, I have to be best friends with myself. And once, if I'm okay with me, well, then, everybody to each your own.
exactly. Yeah, so coming out of those college years, that was really like the catalyst for me discovering that I had a body, that I had emotions, that I had needs, and like I need to learn to take care of myself because I had grown up caring for everybody else. And I'm the oldest of five, so I grew up like caring for my younger siblings and caring for my parents in different ways, and um, my friends and family members, and always thinking about how can I be a good daughter, how can I be a good girl, um, how can I take care of others. um, so so coming out of that, I really realized, oh my gosh, I have to do this really hard scary thing of prioritizing myself and like learning what it's like to be in me, be in my body, be in my skin, and be with what's there, like the hard stuff that's there. Um, and so I started meditating um, as a part of that process. I also started doing Reiki on myself as a part of my healing. And that brought me to a place where yeah, I began to have some really interesting, profound, intuitive experiences.
Do you want to share any of those? Because those are always
Yeah.
fun.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So this the story of really how my intuition opened up, uh it's really profound because so much happened in such a small period of time, and it was all like it really felt like it was all saying, "Come on, get it out there, like be you, be honest, speak your voice." Um, so what happened was I was practicing meditation. Almost every day I was meditating. And one day I was meditating, I was actually floating on the river on a paddleboard. It was really probably the best place you could ever meditate. And I was letting my thoughts pass in this meditation, right? I was like noticing thought, letting it pass. And then I had something float into my awareness. And I describe it as like a big pink cloud. It felt different than a thought, which to me looks like typed words, like going across. Um, it was just this big pink cloud of energy. And it came into my awareness. And I remember thinking, oh, this is really different. This is strange. I feel this immense love all around me and this really profound sense of well being, this sense of care and love. And and with it came this message that someone in my family was going to die soon. And I remember thinking, oh, this is really strange because I don't feel sad or scared, but there's this information that someone's going to die soon. Um, And so I let this pass. I thought it was my imagination. And then it came back again. And it came back even bigger. And I just felt like all this love. I felt like everything is okay. And there was this message, this information with it that someone was going to be going there. Like someone was going to be like going into this love. And so at this point, I sat up and my husband, we weren't married at the time, but he's my husband now. He was sitting next to me. And I said, this is so weird. I keep getting this feeling that someone's going to die soon in my immediate family. And he said, yeah, that is weird. I wrote it down in my journal and just went about my life. I just thought it was a fanciful thought or just a weird imagination. Um, And then actually, I don't know if I told this part of the story in Dr. Maria's podcast, but then our dog, our golden retriever that was like 14 years old, he like a day or two later, he stopped being able to walk. And I was like, I knew it. It's gonna be him. And I was like, let's just put him down, Mom. We just got to put him down. She was like, what are you talking about? And we took him to the vet and they gave him medication. And after a day or so, he was okay. But for a minute there, I was like, oh, it's the dog. It's going to be the dog. Um, so then a few days after that, um, uh, my dad went on a bike ride and had a heart attack. And me and my brothers, and my partner, we all drove to the hospital. My mom was already there. And she told us that he had had this heart attack on a bike ride and that he had died. And I remember feeling like shocked about that. But I also remember feeling like took priority in my mind was what I had written in my journal. Um, of course, I was totally in shock and distraught, but I was also like, it was supposed to be the dog. It was supposed to be the dog. And also like, yeah, why, how did I kind of have an idea of something like this happening? Um, and so we all went into the car to go back home after being at the hospital. And I got in the seat and I just started meditating again. Because at this point, meditation really was like helping me cope with the challenges of life and my chronic pain. And so I just started meditating. And immediately I saw my dad in front of me, like in my mind's eye. And he looked different. He looked like his skin was really clear and tight. He looked younger. And there was this golden light around him. And I was just like, wow, I'm so in shock right now. I'm seeing my dad in front of me. But I just went with it. And I said, so I just like sat with him. And he gave me a really particular message. He said, I have given everything I had to you. Now, could you pass it on to your brothers? And um, then he like walked out behind me and put his hand on my shoulder. And then I felt like a really huge release. Like I felt the release of like the mental stuff, like all the stress and the worry. My dad was a really active person. He like always had lists everywhere, and there was probably many, many things that were left undone. And I felt that like that exhale, and I just had chills all through my body. Um, and I thought, oh, that's really nice, but it's not real. Like, this is really comforting me. This feels really good, but it's not real. Like, I couldn't talk to people about this. I couldn't tell people that this was happening and then believe me. Um, and so then, kind of the next thread was we went to a party a few weeks after my dad died, and there was a friend of a friend who was there. And she said, um, an acquaintance, and she said, she had known my dad. And she said, Emma, the night your dad died, um, I felt him come to me. And I know when it happens because I get chills, and he gave me a message. And would it be okay if I told you what I got from him? And I was like, absolutely, please. And she said, he said he'd given everything he had to you and for you to pass it on to your brothers, and that he loves you. And so that was the moment. Like, yeah, there's the moment when like I really had what I perceive as like my first really big intuitive like awareness that turned out to be accurate. But actually the moment of like that validation of all the things that I had experienced, um, that was when I started freaking out. That was the moment where I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. And this is why I'm here. Like I'm here not just to like know this is real within myself and in my own world inside, but to communicate about it with other people and to like learn about it and somehow be this conduit, this vessel for this information coming through. Um, And it's interesting looking back now because when I think about growing up, like I had a lot of mediumship experiences as a little kid, but it was always in church. And I was when I was praying to my loved ones, I would like talk to them back and forth. And and it felt like so natural and so easy. Like, of course, like grandpa's in my head. Like, of course he's right there. Like I can see him and talk to him. Um, but I never told people about that. Like I could never share that with people. It didn't feel like it would be real outside of myself. It only felt real in my own quiet of my heart. Um, so that was the beginning. Yeah. And that was when I got pretty freaked out. I stopped meditating because I was scared. And so it was about 9 months really that I didn't meditate. I didn't like push myself. I didn't try to figure it out or understand it. I was just grieving and processing. the loss of my dad. But then one day I woke up. I remember I woke up and it wasn't scary anymore. And that was like wild to me because it was really scary before. But one day I woke up and I was like, I just want to figure this out. I want to learn about how this worked, how this was possible, because it somehow it enriched my life and it enriched that really hard, terrible experience with so much love and connection and expansion of awareness. And that felt so precious to me. And actually, throughout my whole grieving process, I just felt like everything was so precious. Um, and yeah, so it really became important to me, and I started looking for teachers and studying it and learning.
And now that's what you help other women do too.
Yeah, and I didn't have the intention of it becoming a career. People just started coming to me and then referring people to me. And at first, my first couple years, I was just doing it out of joy and love. Like I wasn't earning any sort of income from it. I was just learning and just enjoying it so much. And then it's just grown naturally, and here I am. It wasn't a plan.
Well, so you were in a relationship with your now husband at that time, and I know that there's a lot because we are such communal creatures. We are our desire as women is to always kind of be in union, to be good. Like I want to make sure that we're at peace and that we're good. That I think that I know for me that I've worried that if I really step into myself, whoever, whatever that looks like, I'm afraid of losing this relationship.
Mhm.
As you went into like, this is who I am, what was it like communicating with your now husband? Like, this is who I am. And did you have any concerns about, like, this is going to push him away, or now
Mhm.
I'm too weird, or anything like, tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and one I haven't really thought much about because, we had the joy of meeting really young. We met when I was 18. And so we've been growing up together. And my husband, he's also very open-minded and spiritual, and he was also on his own. He's been on his own journey of healing and growing and getting to know himself more. So I never for a second felt um, like me becoming more me would affect our relationship, because that's always been his dream for me, and it's been my dream for him, is that being more being more of us. Now I did have that with friends and family members for sure. And I really think my relationship with Chris, my husband, um, I don't know if I would be doing this without him, if I would have the support and having that stability with my relationship with him, I think really helped me to go out into the world, because I knew that by being honest about some of the things I experienced or the things I enjoy doing sometimes are a little out there for some people. And I knew it would maybe challenge some people's beliefs or make them see me differently. So in doing that, I had to accept that that was going to happen in some areas of my life, and it has.
No, it's just like, oh, it's a quote that likes to be all over social media of how when we let go of things that don't serve us and the people that don't serve us, it makes room for the things that serve us and the people that do serve us to
Yeah,
be able to come in and populate our heart
totally.
space in our lives.
Totally, totally, and that's so true, and it's so can be so messy and hard.
You know,
As we're figuring out who we are, to be, asking the question like, does this still feel good? Do I still want to be near you? And sometimes we don't have a good reason for that not wanting to happen. Like our minds might have a different story of what's happening, but then it might not feel supportive if, for what we're wanting to do, or there might be new people we're wanting to move towards. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and so that right now I'm deep in some shedding, and that just yesterday I resigned from a board. I've never been on a board before. I finally got asked to be on a board, and I felt so fancy. And I realized that um, that it just wasn't in alignment with where I wanted my time and my attention to be focused, and letting go of that and finding, and for me also, like letting go of some social media stuff that I know when I'm away from it I feel so much better.
Hmm.
And so, like, how can my husband, I love that a question he always brings up is, how do I want to be spending my time? How do I want to spend this life that I have? And so oftentimes we do things on autopilot. We don't even, like, well, it's just what everybody does. Like, what do you mean you're not on Facebook? Like, you weirdo. And like, well, actually it doesn't serve me. Like, yeah, I want to be connected with people, but I think I'd rather meet up and have tea and have be face to face and have that kind of connection, not just wasting my life away spying on people or feeling like I need to justify myself, or ooh, I can't say that because I know that this person is going to see it. And then, so you can't be authentic. You're always like positioning yourself as
Hmm.
opposed to living authentically. Like, cut out the noise, let go of the things that don't serve you. As good as they are in your intention at the beginning, is it really how you want to be spending your life? And it can be frightening. There is so much FOMO. I'm gonna miss out on, I'm people are gonna forget about me. Oh my gosh, how am I gonna grow my podcast and my work with women if I am not posting constantly on social media? Uh, you know, and I just had a conversation with my daughter this morning on our walk of how you just need to keep moving towards what brings you peace and trust that you're walking in your path. You were not meant to be here and fail and be abandoned. You were meant to be supported and to grow and to be nurtured and everything. So if we continually keep ourselves hooked up to these things that drain us, like,
Hmm.
where are my energetic leaks? Let me focus on sealing my energy into where I can be most effective, most happy, most like turned on in life. What if my energy wasn't constantly going out into these dumb places that don't serve
Hmm.
me, that they're there for, like, oh, well, if I don't do it, who else is going to do it? Or I don't know, that's what a good mom or good wife or person does. They do those things, but it feels like it's going completely against my grain to do.
Hmm.
Like, gosh, it's not serving you. And then something that you said in regards to like people, but especially in our spouses, I think, of like when you're feeling, what happens when you're not feeling simpatico together? Like, oh, I feel like, are we even meant to be together anymore? And I know, like, we've been married for over 20 years, and we've had many times where that has come up. And it's like, I don't know, like, do we even like each other? We've got these children together, but isn't it better if we just try to make ourselves happier and do that separately? And as I've come in, and honestly, everybody gets to make the decision, but of what serves them best. But in those times of struggle, I love what I believe is true, that we join ourselves with people who are meant to help us become more of who we are meant to be. Just like you and Chris. You it didn't sound like there's a lot of friction between you two. You're both like chugging away life together. It's like, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. Yeah, how's it going for you? Tell me about your story. And but sometimes we're with someone who it feels like we're being kind of pulled against ourselves. But
Hmm.
oftentimes what I have witnessed for myself and what I've seen in other people is it's pointing to places in me where I have had, and it goes back, it really has almost nothing to do with my husband. It has everything to do with beliefs that I formed about myself in my
Mhm.
childhood
Mhm.
regarding my parents or my father.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when I say, oh, do I, what is that belief? Does that belief serve me? Okay, do I want to rewrite that belief? And when I can change it there, it shifts who I am now and it shifts the relationship in my marriage.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times when if I just want to make sure that if someone heard like, if you just don't feel like you're really in sync, maybe it's time to let go. Like, well, maybe it's bringing up some splinters that you have been deeply embedded from something else, and we need to address the splinters. Otherwise, no
Mhm.
matter who you're with, you're going to still have those splinters as part of
Yep.
who you are. Let's extract those. Let's heal that. So,
Yeah. And I mean, we have conflicts too. Just like anyone who's in any kind of relationship, right? There's moments where there's conflict, and I feel like, especially being with a partner long term, there's there I notice it happening when we've become new people too, right? Like, and there's almost this, you've probably experienced this being married for 20 years. There's this moment of like, wait, who are you? Who have you become? Can I get to know you again? And when people, I have I got married young compared to my friend groups. And so they'll ask me like about it, what is it like to be married to someone for 8 years? And I feel so lucky because I'm like, I'm so glad we still love each other. Like, we love the people we are now, which we've been, many different people in those 8 years. And each time we've both been able to to see each other, to meet each other anew, and go from there. But I also agree, like, I think we choose our spouses based on our trauma, based on what we need to learn to do. Sometimes we choose spouses that we need to learn to say goodbye to. That happens too, right? Because maybe in childhood we couldn't do that, but now we choose someone who, you know maybe is really not good for us, and we need to learn how to be our own person. But I agree that most of the time we get those splinters, and it's the splinters that come up. And I was actually talking to a client yesterday about it, and I call it stress fractures, right? And we have these stress fractures that happen, especially when families are under stress or they're going through a lot of things. These stress fractures can come up where we need more support and care, and where we need more love. um, and we can't do it on our own. Like, even as a couple, you need a team to support the couple. You need a team to support you individually and together. Um, yeah.
that's beautiful. And then what I just you saying that, it reminded me of um, like just where I'm personally walking in life and choosing, like I just feel deep like in all of my being that I'm supposed to be choosing home. And like this is a decision I made years ago, but even more so this past year I really put myself out there and wanted to be more of service, and now I'm feeling like a retraction and a more singular focus. And it reminded me of growing up in a large family where there was, and I have grown in a large family for myself, and recognizing that I didn't always have my family didn't always have a bandwidth for each person because there was just so many of us, and so much of it was whatever it is, just tighten it up, and because we got to just march through, we got to survive. And
Mhm,
so we're just all like, okay, let's put the packs on and we're just going to charge up the mountain, and that's what we're going to do because we're a family and a team, and you're not individuals. And it just like the picture of that, and then seeing that where like where am I in my motherhood, telling my children, I don't care what it is, just quiet, I just want it calm and peaceful right now, as opposed
mhm,
to where are you right now and how can I support you right now and what is it that you need. And I know like when you have a lot of people that can be exhausting, and then it makes you question like, was I supposed to have this many people? If I can't do all like the soft Mr. Rogers individual one-on-one with each one, like there's got to be another, there are layers. There are layers, and it just made me think of going, oh, okay, yes, now I see my self-direction for choosing to focus more on homeware instead of when I when we have our attention, when I have my attention out as opposed to inwards with what I've created, who I've committed to and bringing into this world. I mean, you just don't have enough energy or bandwidth to really invest in your family and your kids because you're trying to be out there too and serving others. And there's a time and a season for everything. And this isn't meant to be a long tangent, but of just seeing, addressing in ourselves. If you're feeling a pull in a direction, I think that it's okay that it's seasonal. It's okay to be seasonally inward. It's okay to seasonally be outward or to have like a combination of them. But when we pay attention to that and then find those little echoes, those little voices of going, oh, I see where I'm replaying, I'm playing out my past history, and I'm seeing where right now everything within me is saying, hey, it's time to like slow down so you have all the bandwidth so that you can help prevent those stress fractures within my own children or help heal the ones that have already occurred because we're imperfect. Everybody's going to have damages and wounds and trauma no matter how much we try. And the best thing that we can do is, from what I hear you saying and what I believe, is being able to just cover it in an unconditional love. How can I, when I fill myself up with unconditional love, then I am able to give that out. I can't be an empty vessel and care for others in my life.
Mhm.
So, how can women work, or do you work with men and women? Do you mainly focus on, okay, so it's everybody, but how you have a course coming up where
Mhm.
you're working individually with a small group. Tell us more about that experience and how people who have been curious, like I want to know more about this part of me and I want to explore it more. Um, Gosh, you would offer like the most wonderful, safe, cozy place to be able to be witnessed from. So tell us more about what you have.
I hope it is it's safe and cozy and sweet for me. This will be my fifth year teaching this course. I I developed it um, thinking about what I needed when my intuitive gifts opened up, when I was in crisis, health wise, losing my dad, um, and like in this really big transition moment of my life. And having my intuition opening up all at the same time, this beautiful mess of things happening. What did I need? Well, so that's what inspired me to create this course. And so this is a 12-week course where we meet every week for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And there's information. You learn a different somatic exercise, you learn a different intuitive exercise, you learn about intuition, all the different aspects to intuition, how to know when it's your intuition speaking to you as opposed to your mind or fear, and like how to really apply it to your everyday life. And then we practice together, which is really something that is special and that doesn't isn't easy to do, right? Because you can go read books, you can go listen to all the podcasts, but being able to sit down with another person and practice presence, practice awareness, practice listening to that quiet voice within you, and then having it affirmed by another person saying, oh, wow, yeah, what you're sharing with me about what you see in my energy, or what you're sharing with me about, um, you know, this presence, it really resonates. And that makes so much sense. And so it really is a really powerful container for affirming and understanding your intuition. And so that will be January to April. That will be running. I teach it only once a year.
Beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
I will have a link to that course and to Emma's. website so that you can reach out to her and explore more about her and her offerings. If you follow her on Instagram, she has a very uplifting, calm, it's just reflective of her sweet presence. And it's just always refreshing when you get to see little glimpses of Emma in the world. So, Emma,
I
thank you.
thought you were going to say she has really cute goats.
That is another thing. If you know Emma, you know that she loves come from. That love of goats, where did that
Oh,
originate from?
that grew alongside my intuition. It was it was me following my intuition as it was growing. I, like, it's one of the things, like, as you grow to love and know yourself, you discover things about yourself. And it's just amazing. Like, oh, wow, I love this. I never knew. I love goats. I have this passion for goats, and it's just so expansive. And now it's bunnies too, because I got these two sweet bunnies, and I never could have imagined having the love of these sweet animals in my life. Um, but yeah, it grew alongside that. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I'm so excited to learn more about myself, to help my children be able to access that as well. Thank you, Emma, so much for sharing your time and your heart and your wisdom and your experiences. I appreciate
Thank
you
you
being
so
here.
much, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me.
If today's conversation stirred something in you, I'd love to stay connected. The very best place to find me and to really be a part of what we're building is on Substack. That's where I share my weekly letters, the behind the scenes of our family life, and the deeper teachings that I can't always fit into the podcast. So you can join me at wholewomanawakening.substack.com. And if you're listening on a podcast app, following the show helps more women find these conversations. I am so glad you're here. Thank you for being part of this awakening.